Hello, all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to my channel and welcome to Saturday Livestream, where we make fun of the Bible. Also, Happy New Year! I'm in the new year now. I know I have an international audience. Thank you all so much. But America is finally in the new year, so the entire world is now finally in the new year. So, uh, not much to say, so let's get on with making fun of the Bible. And a point of clarification, it's not really making fun of the Bible. I mean, yes, it is, but it's making fun of a particular interpretation of the Bible, which is the biblical literalist interpretation, which is what I grew up with. So, let's go. Okay, so today we are in 2 Samuel 6 through 10. David again brought together all the able young men of Israel, 30,000. He and all his men went to Bala in Judah to bring up from there the ark of God, which is called by the name of the Lord Almighty, who is enthroned between the cherubim on the ark. Okay, so I want you to get this. According to the Jewish scriptures or the Tanakh, God Almighty is enthroned between the cherubim on the ark. I am not making this up. You can read it for yourself. This is 2 Samuel chapter 6, verse 2. That's what it says. Okay? Yet the Christians want you to think that God is extra dimensional, I guess you could say. All right, moving on. They set the ark of God on a new cart and brought it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill. Uzzah and Ahio, sons of Abinadab, were guiding the new cart with the ark of God on it, and Ahio was walking in front of it. David and all Israel were celebrating with all their might before the Lord with castanets, harps, lyres, timbrels, sistrums, and cymbals. When they came to the threshing floor of Nacon, Uzzah reached out and took hold of the ark of God because the oxen stumbled. The Lord's anger burned against Uzzah because of his irreverent act. Therefore, God struck him down, and he died there beside the ark of God. Now, I want to know what was Uzzah's sin? Hey, Pixie. Hey, Mark. Happy New Year. So I want to know, what was Uzzah's sin? I mean, all he did was reach out to keep the ark of God from falling on the ground. Seems straightforward, right? You don't want something you treasure to, you know, get on the fucking ground. But God kills him for it. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, verse 9. David was afraid of the Lord that day and said, verse 8. Then David was angry because the Lord's wrath had broken out against Uzzah, and to this day that place is called Perez Uzzah. David was afraid of the Lord that day and said, how can the ark of the Lord ever come to me? He was not willing to take the ark of the Lord to be with him in the city of David. Instead, he took it to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. The ark of the Lord remained in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite for 3 months, and the Lord blessed him and his entire household. Okay. That's entirely fucked up. But anyway, moving on. Verse 12. Now King David was told, the Lord has blessed the household of Obed-Edom and everything he has because of the ark of God. So David went to bring up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with rejoicing. When those who were carrying the ark of the Lord had taken 6 steps, he sacrificed a bull and a fattened calf. Why 6 steps? I mean, that's like not a magical number, not even in the Bible. So it makes no sense. Verse 14, wearing a linen ephod, David was dancing before the Lord with all his might, while he and all Israel were bringing up the ark of the Lord with shouts and the sound of trumpets. I don't know about you guys. Hey, Tarum. I don't know about you guys, but we're only 15 verses into the 6th chapter, and this is already fucking bizarre. All right. Verse 16, as the ark of the Lord was entering the city of David, Michal, daughter of Saul, watched from a window. And when she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, she despised him in her heart. They brought the ark of the Lord and set it in its place inside the tent that David had pitched for it, and David sacrificed burnt offerings and fellowship offerings before the Lord. After he had finished sacrificing the burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord Almighty. Then he gave a loaf of bread and cakes of dates and a cake of raisins to each person in the whole crowd of Israelites, both men and women. What about the fucking children? They need it more than anybody. And all the people went to their homes. Oh, God. You know, if I didn't have to do this today, I wouldn't. But, you know, hey, Mr. Shadow Kitty. Right, Tarum? So, anyway, oh, boy. All right. But, yeah, if I didn't have to do this today, I wouldn't. I mean, I did not expect it to get so fucking bizarre so quickly. Excuse me. Anyway, moving on. Verse 20, when David returned home to bless his household, Michal, daughter of Saul, came out to meet him and said, how the king of Israel has distinguished himself today, going around half naked in full view of the slave girls of his servants as any vulgar fellow would. Damn, Michael. Bitch him out, why don't you? Verse 21, David said to Michal, "It was before the Lord who chose me rather than your father or anyone from his house when he appointed me ruler over the Lord's people Israel. I will celebrate before the Lord. I will become even more undignified than this, and I will be humiliated in my own eyes. But by these slave girls you spoke of, I will be held in honor." Damn it, David, why don't you just slap her in the face already? Get it over with. And Michal, daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death. Yeah, sounds like God, the prick. All right, chapter 7. After the king was settled in his palace, and the Lord had given him rest from all his enemies around him, he said to Nathan the prophet, "Here I am, living in a house of cedar, while the ark of God remains in a tent." Nathan replied to the king, "Whatever you have in mind, go ahead and do it, for the Lord is with you." But that night the word of the Lord came to Nathan, saying, "Go and tell my servant David, this is what the Lord says. Are you the one to build me a house to dwell in? I have not dwelt in a house from the day I brought the Israelites up out of Egypt to this day. I have been moving from place to place with a tent as my dwelling." No, you've been moving around with a fucking box as your dwelling. But maybe that's just nitpicking. Hang on. Just a minute, guys. Okay, guys, sorry about that. Hey, Jason. Well, this is true. This is true, Mark. Okay. So verse 7, wherever I have moved with all the Israelites, did I ever say to any of their rulers, whom I commanded to shepherd my people Israel, why have you not built me a house of cedar? Well, I don't know, God, maybe because you're a figment of somebody's imagination. That could be. Verse 8, now then, tell my servant David, this is what the Lord Almighty says. I took you from the pasture, from tending the flock, and appointed you ruler over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone, and I have cut off all your enemies from before you. Now I will make your name great, like the names of the greatest men on earth, and I will provide a place for my people Israel and will plant them so that they can have a home of their own and no longer be disturbed. Wicked people will not oppress them anymore as they did at the beginning and have done ever since the time I appointed leaders over my people Israel. I will also give you rest from all your enemies. Yeah. Do you remember a little skirmish called World War II? Just saying. The Lord declares to you that the Lord himself will establish a house for you. When your days are over and you rest with your ancestors, I will raise up your offspring to succeed you, your own flesh and blood, and I will establish his kingdom. He is the one who will build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. Uh huh. That worked out great, didn't it? Verse 14, I will be his father, and he will be my son. When he does wrong, I will punish him with a rod wielded by men, with flogging inflicted by human hands. But my love will never be taken away from him, as I took it away from Saul, whom I removed from before you. Your house and your kingdom will endure forever before me. Your throne will be established forever. Nathan reported to David all the words of this entire revelation. Yeah, it's forever okay. All right, verse 18. Then King David went in and sat before the Lord, and he said, Who am I, sovereign Lord, and what is my family that you have brought me this far? And as if this were not enough in your sight, sovereign Lord, you have also spoken about the future of the house of your servant, and this decree, sovereign Lord, is for mere human. What more can David say to you? For you know your servant, sovereign Lord. For the sake of your word and according to your will, you have done this great thing and made it known to your servant. How great you are, sovereign Lord. There is no one like you, and there is no God but you, as we have heard with our own ears. No, you didn't. Verse 23, and who is like your people Israel, the one nation on earth that God went out to redeem as a people for himself, and to make a name for himself, and to perform great and awesome wonders by driving out nations and their gods before your people, whom you redeemed from Egypt. You have established your people Israel as your very own forever, and you, Lord, have become their God. And now, Lord God, keep forever the promise you have made concerning your servant and his house. Do as you promised, so that your name will be great forever. Then people will say, The Lord Almighty is God over Israel, and the Lord of your servant David will be established in your, and the house of your servant David will be established in your sight. Lord Almighty God of Israel, you have revealed this to your servant, saying, I will build a house for you. So your servant has found courage to pray this prayer to you. Sovereign Lord, you are God. Your covenant is trustworthy, and you promise these good things to your servant. Now be pleased to bless the house of your servant, that it may continue forever in your sight. For you, sovereign Lord, have spoken, and your blessing the house of your servant will be blessed forever. Uh, Chapter 8. In the course of time, David defeated the Philistines and subdued them, and he took Metheg Ammah from control of the Philistines. David also defeated the Moabites. He made them lie down on the ground and measured them off with a length of cord. Every 2 lengths of them were put to death, and the third length was allowed to live. So the Moabites became subject to David and brought him tribute. Why? Why were every 2 lengths of them put to death? Why? You know what? I don't even know why I try to make sense of this fucking book anymore. Yeah, I know, Mark. But thanks for that reminder. Jason, I really have no idea. Unless it's just to present God as a bloodthirsty, fucked up megalomaniac. Anyway, moving on. Moreover, David defeated Hadadezer, son of Rahab, king of Zobah, when he went to restore his monument at the Euphrates River. David captured 1,000 of his chariots, 7,000 charioteers, and 20,000 foot soldiers. He hamstrung all but 100 of the chariot horses. Why? David is such a dick. Verse 5. When the Arameans of Damascus came to help Hadadezer, king of Zobah, David struck down 22,000 of them. He put garrisons in the Aramean kingdom of Damascus, and the Arameans became subject to him and brought tribute. The Lord gave David victory wherever he went. David took the gold shields that belonged to the officers of Hadadezer and brought them to Jerusalem. From Teba and Berothai, towns that belonged to Hadadezer, King David took a great quantity of bronze. I doubt that any shields were made out of gold, except maybe for decoration, because gold is a very soft metal. Not a very good metal to make shields out of. Alrighty, let's see what you guys are up to. This is true, Jason. This is true. Okay, moving on. Verse 9. When Tou, king of Hamath, heard that David had defeated the entire army of Hadadezer, he sent his son Joram to King David to greet him and congratulate him on his victory in battle over Hadadezer, who had been at war with Tou. Joram brought with him articles of silver, gold, and bronze. King David dedicated these articles to the Lord, as he had done with the silver and gold from all the nations he had subdued: Edom and Moab, the Ammonites and the Philistines, and Amalek. He also dedicated the plunder taken from Hadadezer, son of Rahab, king of Zobah. Yeah. Those places did not exist at the time this is purported to have been written. So, yeah. Try again. Verse 13. And David became famous after he returned from striking down 18,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. He put garrisons throughout Edom, and all the Edomites became subject to David. The Lord gave David victory wherever he went. Yeah, you already told us. Do you really need to repeat it? Verse 15. David reigned over all Israel, doing what was just and right for all his people. Really? Well, I don't really think that's what he did. But anyway, moving on. Verse 16. Joab, son of Zeruiah, was over the army. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was recorder. Zadok, son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, son of Abiathar, were priests. Sariah was secretary. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was over the Kerethites and Pelethites, and David's sons were priests. Okay, why were David's sons priests? David's of the tribe of Judah, not Levi. I mean, don't these fucking people remember what they said in Exodus and Leviticus and Numbers and Deuteronomy, that the Lord said that the house of Levi, and particularly the line of Aaron, would serve as priests? Oh, I'm sorry. This is God talking. God must have Alzheimer's. Very true, Mark. Very true. Moving on. Chapter 9. David asked, "Is there anyone still left of the house of Saul to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" Now there was a servant of Saul's household named Ziba. They summoned him to appear before David, and the king said to him, "Are you Ziba?" "At your service," he replied. The king asked, "Is there no one still alive from the house of Saul whom I can show God's kindness?" Ziba answered the king, "There is still a son of Jonathan. He is lame in both feet." "Where is he?" the king asked. Ziba answered, "He is at the house of Machir, son of Amiel, in Lo-debar." So King David had him brought from Lo-debar, from the house of Machir, son of Amiel. When Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, came to David, he bowed down to pay him honor. David said, Mephibosheth, "At your service," he replied. Oh, I love this. It's like, "At your service, my lord. At your service, my lord. At your service, my lord." "Don't be afraid," David said to him, "for I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table." Mephibosheth bowed down and said, "What is your servant that you should notice a dead dog like me?" Oh, God. Verse 9. Then the king summoned Ziba, Saul's steward, and said to him, "I have given your master's grandson everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You and your sons and your servants are to farm the land for him and bring in the crops, so that your master's grandson may be provided for. And Mephibosheth, grandson of your master, will always eat at my table." Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Then Ziba said to the king, "Your servant will do whatever my lord the king commands his servant to do." Mephibosheth ate at David's table like one of the king's sons. Mephibosheth had a young son named Micah, and all the members of Ziba's household were servants of Mephibosheth. And Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem because he always ate at the king's table. He was lame in both feet. Yeah, you already told us. You don't need to tell us again. All right, chapter 10, and the last one, and this facepalm inducing episode of Saturday Livestream. Chapter 10. In the course of time, the king of the Ammonites died, and his son Hanun succeeded him as king. David thought, I will show kindness to Hanun, son of Nahash, just as his father showed kindness to me. So David sent a delegation to express his sympathy to Hanun concerning his father. When David's men came to the land of the Ammonites, the Ammonite commanders said to Hanun, their lord, do you think David is honoring your father by sending envoys to you to express sympathy? Hasn't David sent them to you only to explore the city and spy it out and overthrow it? So Hanun seized David's envoys, shaved off half of each man's beard, cut off their garments at the buttocks, and sent them away. Yeah, that's exactly what David was doing. Make no mistake about it. These people who wrote the Bible, they're trying to pep up David, you know? But make no mistake about it. David was a ruthless warlord. Verse 5. When David was told about this, he sent messengers to meet the men, for they were greatly humiliated. And I will say this, at that time, and even today, beards are very significant to Jewish men. Very significant. Anyway, the king said, stay at Jericho till your beards have grown, and then come back. Verse 6. When the Ammonites realized that they had become obnoxious to David, they hired 20,000 Aramean foot soldiers from Beth Rehob and Zobah, as well as the king of Makkah, with 1,000 men and also 12,000 men from Tob. On hearing this, David sent Joab out with the entire army of fighting men. The Ammonites came out and drew up in battle formation at the entrance of their city gate, while the Arameans of Zobah and Rehob and the men of Tob and Makkah were by themselves in the open country. Joab saw that there were battle lines in front of him and behind him, so he selected some of the best troops in Israel and deployed them against the Arameans. He put the rest of the men under the command of Abishai, his brother, and deployed them against the Ammonites. Joab said, if the Arameans are too strong for me, then you are to come to my rescue. But if the Ammonites are too strong for you, then I will come to rescue you. Be strong and let us fight bravely for our people and the cities of our God. The Lord will do what is good in his sight. Jesus fucking Christ. You aren't fighting for your people. You're the aggressors here. Not that this happened, but I mean, let's be real. If this happened, the Israelites were the aggressors. Verse 13. Then Joab and the troops with him advanced to fight the Arameans, and they fled before him. When the Ammonites realized that the Arameans were fleeing, they fled before Abishai and went inside the city. So Joab returned from fighting the Ammonites and came to Jerusalem. After the Arameans saw that they had been routed by Israel, they regrouped. Hadadezer had Arameans brought from beyond the Euphrates River. They went to Helam with Shobak, the commander of Hadadezer's army, leading them. When David was told of this, he gathered all Israel, crossed the Jordan, and went to Helam. The Arameans formed their battle lines to meet David and fought against him, but they fled before Israel, and David killed 700 of their charioteers and 40,000 of their foot soldiers. He also struck down Shobek, the commander of their army, and he died there. When all the kings who were vassals of Hadadezer saw that they had been rooted by Israel, they made peace with the Israelites and became subject to them. So the Arameans were afraid to help the Ammonites anymore. What can I even say to this mess? Honestly, what can I say to this goddamn mess? It's like they're trying to make David and Israel look glorious and good, and all they did was fuck it all up. This is true, Mark. Yes, Jason, I do agree. And I also agree with Karen. This is supposed to prop up David and Israel, but looking at it from a modern perspective, it makes it so much worse. So much worse. And, this is one of the things you look at, and as someone who doesn't believe anymore, I can say this is definitely an argument against an eternal, unchanging God. Because we're supposed to believe in this day and age, right? We're supposed to believe that somehow this God, this fucked up megalomaniac, is an omnibenevolent God. Don't think so. In fact, take the fiend of World War II. Okay, well, actually, there were two fiends of World War II. Not going to say who they are. You know who they are, so I'm not going to say it. Anyway, take those two fiends, okay? Magnify them by 1 million, and you still do not have a bastard as fucked up as this Bible God. Are you kidding, Taryn? They don't read their Bible at all. If they do read their Bible, the only things they read are the things they're told to read by their pastor. They ain't called sheeple for nothing. So, anyway, yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm glad I only decided to cover 6 through 10. That's all I can handle for today. It's New Year's Day, right? We're supposed to be having fun. We're supposed to be dancing. Maybe not in the street, but anyway, you know, supposed to be dancing, supposed to be getting it on, you know. And here I have to read this fucked up book on New Year's Day. Yeah, Nevermore. Yep, same David. Same David. Yeah. Not a good dude. Anyway, yes, happy 2022. And, well, Nevermore, the Bible does say that David was a man after God's own heart. You know, come to think of it, truer words were never spoken. Anyway, that's all I got for you for today. My next John Pendleton rebuttal videos coming out on Tuesday. Members have already got it. So if you want early releases, you can become a member for as low as 99 cents a month. You also get perks like emojis. And anyway, so happy 2022, everyone. And I will see you tomorrow for Atheist Church. Alrighty. Bye.